is that in order for you to do real tawakkul, you need to understand where you stand. What's your level? Remember, we said there is a relationship between tawakkul and personal responsibility. What's within my realm and what's outside of my realm. So what he did, he defined the realm of learning. So now you know what learning is. So when you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to assist you in learning, you're asking something that is to you meaningful. But if you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you tawakkul in something that you don't even know what it is, but you only have a title for, what you're doing is you're developing the habit of asking God, of asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala things that you don't really understand. You understand? And that can lead to tawakkul as well. So what he did is know what you're asking for. You know what you're asking assistance in before asking the assistance itself. Alright? That's a very excellent question. I really like it. So seriously, I really like it. Okay. Alright, you had a question? Yes?
Well, it's like kind of personal experience.
Okay.
Okay, for me, like as a student in college, sometimes I've been ordered or been asked to do tests. And sometimes I just do like the copy and paste from the internet and the doctor just takes it like that. So...
You plagiarize? Oh, man.
I want to say something about
Yes. Well, just let him finish. Okay.
so
You're not coming out in the camera, don't worry. So you're safe. Okay.
Alright. So, okay, I forgot what...
No, you're saying you're copy and paste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
I'm sorry. Yeah, what's your name again? Okay. So, anyways, yes, we get it. You're required to finish certain tasks, and for some reason, you don't finish them.
Because the teachers, like, they may not, like, be more specific and more, or taking that into consideration that we are not doing our job. We just care about papers and we care about that something relevant to them. So for me as a student, like I'm getting used, or we all got used to be forced to do things, or we don't do. So if the teacher is not looking for that, or they're not searching after us, we'll never do this. So what do you think? For me, like, is it like we are looking for the value, right? But when the teacher himself doesn't care about what we're doing, so how can we, as we are imitating the teachers, how can we do this?
Don't imitate the teachers. Well, see, the thing is, if you let the teacher, if this teacher is not suitable to be a role model, remember, I don't know if you were, most likely you attended this part when you talked about the respect of the knowledgeable people and how to choose a teacher. Remember?
Yeah.
And we talked about how Imam Zarnuji is empowering students to choose their teachers. So don't deal with them as teachers. Deal with them as government clerks.
Well, let me tell you, you're the first one to talk about introductions. Like
I know, I understand. That's why I'm telling you, deal with your professor. I'm responsible for saying this. Deal with these professors, these teachers who treat you like that. Deal with them as government clerks. Oh, you need that application signed by that person? All right. Please sign it for me. You need that assignment. Here you go. But at the same time, as you should not learn to bribe because some kind of government clerks push you to do that. At the same time, don't train yourself to plagiarize because he's a bad role model. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, but
So take it as a challenge for you. You're training yourself, regardless of what that person will think. Alright? Even if they fail you in it. But you are learning something for you, for your sake. You get my point?
yeah, but what if they are doing like I may have 13 lectures and
13 lectures?
for the week and maybe more.
Okay. Oh, in the whole week.
No, not only.
Okay.
So how can I go home late, and every teacher asks us to do a lot of tasks, not only one or two. They're asking us to do a lot of tasks. So how can
With the same deadlines?
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah. So,
Yes.
so how can I afford this and how can I get the value out of this? Because actually, like if you find yourself you're supposed to do, well, per the coming week you have to be doing or finishing about 20 tasks for instance, and this is like a lesson one, like a lesson number. So how can I get the value of that and how can I change that?
I will tell you, finish the most two important ones as much as you can, like to the best of your ability, and the others, just do what lets you pass. Well, you have to train yourself on going around this without copying and pasting. At least maybe in the beginning, paraphrasing and putting a reference. But at least paraphrase. You know? But don't learn to copy and paste. If you learn how to copy and paste and you develop the habit of copying and pasting, it will be difficult for you to grow out of it. You understand? So I'm glad that you're concerned about this. Because many students might be doing this, but they're not concerned. But if you're concerned, this is a good thing. I had international school students who would copy and paste. I had some of them would actually hand in the paper printed off the browser so I can see the URL. I'm like, at least if you plagiarize, just do it professionally, you know? Where is your sense of taste? Come on, just plagiarize with style, man. This is just absolutely ridiculous.
No, don't worry.
They print it off and just give it to me. I'm like, yes, this is off the internet. I can see it. So anyways, okay, yes, your question. You're welcome.
Okay, since I'm doing a lot of tasks,
Okay.
I use the time timer or something like this so I can have all done in time. But
Okay.
actually they don't plan it, like they don't done in a day. I mean, I have a lot of things and I can apply it on the ground, you know. Like I put a schedule for the day,
Okay.
for a week before.
And it gets mixed up.
Yes, and I got to the last minute working. I give up some days to sleep or to relax, and then I wake up in the morning, not that morning, so at the end of the day I come to the last minute working and I hate it, but I come to it and I finish tasks at the end of the deal, you know.
That's a good question. See, one of the reasons that we did not talk about procrastination is asking from yourself to do a lot. That's kind of like perfectionism, but not in one task, in many.
Maybe priorities, but I can't give each priority its...
It's true. So you need to assign what is a priority and what's not.
I have a lot of priorities. I can't find what should I...
Then you need to cut down your priorities a little bit. I would ask you to go on Google and look up essentialism. Essentialism comes from the word essential. And there is a whole movement on essentialism. And how to live according to what is really essential. Again, it's very interesting how the West is now talking about the very basic needs. And if something that you can live without for the couple more weeks or months, just don't buy it. Just don't do it. If you keep on living, just don't do it. Don't buy it. You don't need it.
So if I feel that I need it, I don't get it?
No, what they're basically saying is determining what is really essential. Many things, because of marketeers, they let us think that this is a need, but it's not really a need. Alright? They make desires appear as a need. And what happens is that when they talk about marketing, they mention things, you know, in the opposite direction. And they say, you have a need that you are not aware of, I will make it a desire. You're such a liar. It's a desire, and you're making me feel as if I cannot live without. Back then, I desired it, but I did not care. Now, people now sell drugs to buy iPhone. Why? Because they think it's a need. They cannot live without. You know, to steal or to do illegal stuff, to buy a phone. What's wrong with a Samsung? But they have to buy an iPhone. People are getting crazy about the Apple Watch. See, again, because marketeers, or people in marketing, they develop things to us, or they promote things to us as needs, and yet they're desires, and we get things mixed up. What they do is they apply psychology, and they do customer behavior. That's why they play on the impulsiveness and the cashier. They call it impulsive buying. You find all the batteries, all the gum and the mint and stuff just near the cashier. Because usually, if you're going to a supermarket to buy groceries for a week or 2 weeks or a month for a family, you will never think of batteries and you'll never think of gum or mint gum or something. You will not think of that. So they put it next to the cashier, because while you're buying, they're doing all the checking. What you do is you stand there and gum, okay. Batteries, yes, we need that for so-and-so. So you buy, and you do this called impulsive buying. You did not originally go to buy these. Okay? So, and sometimes they put sweets right in front of the cashier. And they put the batteries up. Because usually the guy would buy the batteries, but he's taller.
And the girl
and the mint is average height. But you find all the sweets and the chocolates the height of a child. Because while you have your wallet and you have your money ready, and they go, Daddy, I need to buy this chocolate. You'll always find this, okay, just put it. I swear to Allah, Wallahi, you will see this a lot. You'll find the boy or girl, because see, the father, at this point, he wants to focus on the receipt, on what's being checked, and he wants to know the total. He doesn't want to think about, should my son or daughter eat chocolate now or not? And they want to get the hassle off their minds. So they ask at that specific point, I want to buy the chocolate. And you're a parent, and you need to get things done. You just want to get out of the store. You know what, just put it, we'll deal with it later. Impulsive. They're coaching you implicitly to be impulsive. And your children to be impulsive. And then, see, this is what's done to you when you're a kid. And then you become a grown-up. And you go to college. So you always find things that are impulsive, that are not really priority, and you have to do it. And that is, we talked in the very beginning, perhaps you did not attend from the very, very beginning, but it's okay. You can see the lectures, you can watch the lectures. And we talked about the importance of the current condition. Imam al-Zarnuji talked about how learning should be pertaining the current condition. What do you need now? There are many topics that personally, myself, I need to learn about, but I don't need them right now. But perhaps what you need to develop is a skill that can help you attain what you don't need now, but you might need later. So now you need to develop core skills. Keystone skills. Just as we say, keystone habits. You need to have keystone skills. Learning how to learn is one of them. Because if you get it, if you know how to learn, you can get any kind of content, any kind of subject, any kind of material you can learn easily. So what you need to ask yourself, what do I need now to improve my current state? This is your number one priority, your current condition. Then things come according to the time and energy and effort. One of the current conditions that you have is rewarding yourself on the effort that you're doing now. See, if you don't schedule reward, your body will ask for it, will demand it, and will get it either you like it or not. But the point is, you might get this breakdown, I need to sleep for 2 days, that was not originally scheduled. You understand? Because you push things a lot, and you're not getting enough sleep, and all of a sudden you get 2-3 days off. I know, but so what you need to do is you need to schedule your breaks. You have to take a break by your own decision, not that you're forced. You understand? So you have to develop the habit of earning a reward and treating yourself. Okay? Any other questions? Anybody? Yes, thanks.
And the first, that you said about tawakkul.
Yes.
How the difference between individualistic or individualism? And the second question is about we need to what your opinion about polymath?
About being a polymath. Okay.
What is that?
I'll ask. Okay. Just the first question. Let me take the second question. I don't want to keep you waiting thinking. A polymath is somebody who studies a lot of sciences. So Ibn Sina, for example, was a polymath. He was a philosopher and he was a doctor. Al-Farabi was a polymath, a philosopher, musician, and many other things as well. Abu Bakr al-Razi was a physician and a philosopher. So you find many Muslim scholars, they're doing more than one science at the same time, more than one field. This is, we can look at it from different perspectives. You can take a look at it from the perspective of the importance of having different backgrounds rather than one. And this solves the inch to long effect. Inch to long effect means that you get so used to one way of problem solving. So you find if you're an engineer, you take everything in your life as an engineer. If you're a pharmacist, like Dr. Amr, you take everything like a pharmacist. Components and equations, perhaps, I don't know. Maybe. You're developing the habit still. Alright? So basically, when you get a specialization into something, you always develop that behavior. My parents, they're both doctors. So you have this kind of observation and diagnosis and analysis at high speed. Alright? So any kind of problem, you can find it dissected and the anatomy of the problem is there. It's at hand. Alright? So usually the person who works at something or becomes specialized in something, they always use a certain pattern in problem solving. So one of the important things about being a polymath is that you develop different ways of problem solving. Alright? And that's helpful when you're trying to solve something from different angles and different perspectives. Companies, they get consultants. Alright? Students, they get into study groups because they need another mind, another experience, another approach. So, this is one way to look at it. The importance of being a polymath, or the notion of polymath, for having different backgrounds. Another way to look at being a polymath is that it's some kind of being a genius. Because at the end of the day, how many polymaths have we witnessed as humans? And then when it comes down that very few polymaths and the rest are specialists in one or two related fields. So you can think of it in that way. There's some kind of speciality. If you want to connect between both, I would say be specialized in one direction, in one field, but have the ability and give yourself the privilege to develop understanding of different fields. One of the very late subjects that people talk about, very trendy, is called econophysics. And I read about it, and it's totally not related to my subject. You would be thinking, why do you read about something like this? I read about econophysics. Recently, they have developed a system that, they have now physicists, specialists in physics and meteorology, specialists in weather forecasting, working with economists to develop systems that are based on principles of physics to forecast and expect economic performances for nations in the same dynamics. Alright? And they said that the more chaotic the society, the less we can expect. But for the stable countries, they can specifically detect what will happen financially for years to come. They can actually map it out. Alright? Through the same kind of techniques or similar techniques in calculating patterns for weather, for example. And then they developed this field, econophysics. And it's very interesting that you see now how things get together like this. Physicists and economists. I read about this, okay? And then I use it as an example in learning how to learn, to answer your question. But for me to understand how I reached that example is that I studied complexity theory. And I studied the theory of chaos. And because I studied that, I follow the news that are related to chaos theory. And they start talking about it when they mentioned econophysics and how certain nations are chaotic and others are more stable in terms of patterns, for example. So when you read outside, just for, even if for general leisure, outside of your realm, your field of study, or discourse, or your discipline that you're trying to learn, or trying to specialize in, you can always connect. See, you're a doctor, for example, but when you have some kind of understanding in education, and you read a little bit in business, and perhaps you do some studies in psychology, and what else? You read about social marketing or something, I don't know. You can get into physics, engineering, and then one day you will have a patient who's really suffering, and you cannot get him out of the suffering and get his attention away from the pain unless you talk to him about his work. So tell me, what do you do? Oh, you're an engineer, and you're fixing the stitch. You're an engineer, yes? Wait, what field of engineering? I read an article before, and you're just doing your work. It can help you in that. You understand? So it's always good to broaden your spectrum. The more you read about things, even if it's not in your field, the more you can relate to people. And knowledge and learning can now then not only be a way to improve yourself, but to improve relationships with others as well. It's much more easier for you to network with people. So this is the importance of being a polymath. Right now, nowadays, I would not suggest that a person would decide I would be the next Avicenna, Ibn Sina, Abu Bakr Razi, or anything of that sort. But at the same time, I would say have one specialization, but at the same time read in things that are outside of your studies, even they're far-fetched, far away from what you plan to learn. And the second question was what? That was the second question. This was the first? What was the second?
No, that was the second.
What was the other question? Let's say. This is too much complexity. Yes.
You told her that you were going to...
What happened to your memory, man? So you need tawakkul so it stays. What happened? Okay.
It was about tawakkul.
Yes. It was about tawakkul, subhanAllah, yes.
But the individualistic.
What do you mean individualistic?
Like, you say that tawakkul is that we need to being personal responsible, and the difference between individualistic.
Okay, maybe I need to clarify this. See, we can let me put it in another way. Tawakkul is related to priorities. If you're not focusing on your priorities, especially things that you cannot change on your own, that would require some kind of collective work, what usually happens when you indulge yourself in something like that, you start giving yourself, without you realize, a stronger weight than, or a bigger value than necessary. You're not seeing yourself as a member in the herd, just doing something and helping others along. No, you're the hero. And this is part of the culture that we're talking about. And you find nowadays, Islamists, so-called, and they act like superheroes. We will save the nation. I mean, that Superman is only movies. you don't save nations. Alright? Nations develop. They're not saved. You understand? And there is, speaking of this, I'm just going off tangent a bit. There's a historian, a British historian, Toynbee. He talked about how civilizations, they don't die, they commit suicide. He said nations, civilizations, they don't die. They rather commit suicide. How do they do that? They don't meet their challenges. Okay? They have challenges that they don't meet. Usually, unmet challenges are, or those challenges that are required to be addressed, they're sacrificed for the sake of marginal challenges. You understand? Like what happened here in Egypt, for example. People got into an ideological fight, even though the main challenge was social and economic. You understand? They got into an ideological concern. So, there was a challenge. People suffering for years that need economic stability, that need development, that need somebody to address their needs, social and economic needs, health needs, education. Instead, we're having ideological debates. It's a challenge. Yes, it's important to have some kind of unified identity, but it's not the core problem at the current moment, especially if we're talking about subtle differences and intricate matters that do not relate to laymen who are suffering severely because of calamities in financial conditions. So basically, again, how is that related to tawakkul? Tawakkul is about setting priorities. If I see myself as the person coming to save the Muslim Ummah, I am the hero. Then see, there's a lot of I will save the Ummah. But if I see myself as somebody who needs to develop himself, needs to improve himself, somebody who needs to work on improving his role as a family member and uplifting his family, for example, and working with a small community, or working in society on one specific aspect that he can improve or help people improve in. Alright, so he's always seeing there is a gap and he's trying to fill, and on his own he is weak and he needs Allah's assistance. But if I see myself as a savior, if a group sees itself as the rescuer of the country, then they become what? They become dependent on themselves. We can do it. We're a lot. We're a huge number. See, there's a lot of we, there's a lot of I. So it's not a matter of being one or being a group. It's just a matter of what's a priority. It's a matter of, do you see yourself able on your own, or do you seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's assistance? This is what I'm talking about. Not the notion of individualistic. I'm not calling people for you to become mutawakkil or placing your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then don't help people out. This is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, when you put priorities, or you set wrong priorities, or false priorities, for something like saving the planet, then you're giving too much value in your own personal abilities. Where is tawakkul? Tawakkul is always seeing yourself not enough. There is actually all the factors I cannot control, even though you put a lot of effort. I put a lot of effort, but this without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could not have made it. And there is something, see, about tawakkul. Fate that happen, incidents, events, whether good or bad, that happen to us in our lives, they're usually a sum of accumulative. You always find milestones in your lives. Like a key milestone for anybody who's married is marriage, and you can relate. Okay? Or, having a child. This is a milestone in your life. What you usually find a set of accumulative events that led to that milestone. And if you take every single event on its own, you would never think it would lead to that conclusion. There are usually some kind of organizations that happened in your life. Some kind of circumstances that were organized in a certain pattern, in a certain way, for you to meet your wife to get married. And if you change the timing just a tiny bit, things would have been totally different. If you changed the timing, if you changed any kind of factor, slight change, things would not have worked out that way. Right? See, if that happens for two people to get married, that sort of accumulation, what would happen for a nation to rise? If two individuals need lots of accumulation, many circumstances that are formed in a certain pattern, specific one, they're kind of complex because they depend on initial conditions. And these initial conditions determine how things will unfold, how things will unravel, until you reach marriage. For example, the things that I'm doing now in learning how to learn, there's so many decisions that have been taken in the past 5 or more years that if one single decision was different, I would not have been sitting here. And every single event that happened, when I take a look at it, I would not see it producing an outcome. It's something that is individual. So they're very accumulative. Milestones in one's life, they're very, very accumulative, and you usually don't see the rationale. You don't see how they will unfold. And that's when it's pertaining you, not a society. So when you focus on things that are outside of your realm even, that are not dependent on only you, so many factors out there. Many decisions, many conditions, many circumstances. And you only see that. And you only see yourself as able to change them. Then where is the tawakkul here? The tawakkul is saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I would not have been here without you. I would not have reached this unless I went through all of these accumulations. And actually, I am sorry that I was I was trying to hassle up. I was trying to reach too quickly. You can't. These conditions are almost like requirements. Check. You reach the milestone, and you never know when you reach it. Sometimes you never know in the very beginning what's the milestone to begin with, and He walks you through the path, the track, without knowing. Imam al-Razi, he talked about how if people think about the rise and fall of nations, and if you start thinking about them, and how things change back and forth, you would confirm that this is nothing but the act of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, this is to wrap up the tawakkul part. It's not about being individualistic as much as if what you control, or if what seems as being controllable by you is not even as such. What about things that are outside of your realm totally? So it's an indicator that you see yourself as somebody who's doing things on his own, and this is not compatible with tawakkul. Tawakkul is being like a feather with Allah's qadr, with fate. You're like a feather. A feather does not question, let alone determines what will happen to the rest of the feathers. Alright, any other questions? Attendance, anybody did not write your name in attendance, you can write here. Oh, you need to write attendance? Oh, you have a question? Oh, okay.
I have a question.
Go.
About procrastination.
Yes.
Sometimes I feel like there are two things that distract me while studying or something.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel like my mood is changed while I'm studying, so I leave studying. Or I get bored because I won't study, but my mood is changed. Then there might be an idea came or like chased my mind to change.
It chased your mind.
Yes, and
A lot of games.
yes, like
Jack and Jones.
it happens. It happens.
You're wearing Jack and Jones.
Yes, I,
Yeah, gamification to it.
I do like games on computer or something.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yes. I I did not describe your procrastination accurately. It's my mistake.
No.
I'm joking. Go on. Yes.
What I just want to say is it happens to me while I'm with my friends or something.
Okay.
So we take a study plan and we start doing them.
Okay.
But like after an hour or 2 hours, like today happened this, we speak together or there's a problem or there's something coming in a few days, so we have to prepare for it. Anything just distract us from studying or from the plan we have already put. So.
Okay. Well, I think this is very related to your first question, but if I have something to add after this elaboration, is that boredom is a decision. You decide to be bored. You might tell me, well, I don't decide the feeling. Yes, you might not decide the feeling. But when you're bored, you either say, I'll let myself bored. So, okay, half an hour, 1 hour, okay, this is too much boredom. I'll work on something else. Or you turn what you're doing to fun. And that would require effort. And because changing something from being boring to being fun requires effort to procrastinate. Because there's effort. And you're not sure that if you invest the required time to change this boring experience into something fun, that it would actually be fun. So you know what? Just put it aside. Again, yes, this is very much related to expectation. And this is why people talk about gamification. They try to find the boredom in learning or in corporate culture. They try to change the learning from being only rigorous and the rigor of learning into something that is fun. So, they do like to collect points, or as I was talking earlier, levels, for example, or rewards, or if you treat, for example, your homeworks as the monsters in a game or something. I don't know, something like that. So people use these techniques in gamification to fight boredom. Okay. And why are we so concerned about boredom these days? Because of the fast food social media culture. Our brains got trained that you always have, a dopamine influence. Dopamine is the component in your brain that is responsible for, motivation or uplifting. So, what happens is that we always get this dopamine, rush into ourselves when we see the Facebook and we find a notification that says, so-and-so person liked my status or liked my picture. Dopamine. And what happens is that you feel the reward, this feeling of happiness or of pleasure, because of what? Because of a mouse click. And you do something online, you play a game or whatever, I don't know, you chat with a person, and you do things quickly, and you get a reward. And you go to buy food, and it's only 5 minutes, and you find the clock in front of you. And if 5 minutes passes and they don't deliver the food, we're very sorry, I apologize. And it's only been 5 minutes. Alright? If they give you the food 2 or 3 minutes late at a fast food place, they apologize for you that it's late. And you eat it, and you eat it quickly. So we got trained because of this modern day culture that we do very small things and we get dopamine for it in our brains.
This is a human being nature, so...
It's not a human being nature, it's the culture that forced this. And because the culture forced this, but at the same time, it's contradictory to the requirements of success. For you to succeed, you have to wait for a long time. And you have to try once and twice and thrice. And you might fail in the process, and you have to keep on going. But that's, again, it's everything that people in marketing are doing. Because they want to sell. They want you to buy. They want you to, because this is a need that you did not, you were not aware of it, but they were. So, anyways, I'm being sarcastic. They turned this desire, this dopamine, into a need. And they made it a lot and fast, and a lot and fast. So you're usually, when you're trying to sit for 2 hours to do something, you cannot. It's like a hot seat. You cannot remain 2 hours in one place doing something. You got used to the fast reward. Do something fast and you feel good about it. You understand? And for you to counter this, you have to do it the other way. Do effort and get reward. Because what they do, they give you reward without an effort.
Yes.
So you got trained that no much, effort and feeling good. So why put the effort? So I feel bored. And after they raised, people who are not willing to fight boredom or not willing to challenge themselves. They have raised generations who are always, I'm bored. This is so boring. Oh my God, it's boring. I am bored. Hello? How are you, friend? Well, how do you feel? I'm bored.
We are together.
Right? Yeah, let's meet. I'm really bored. Oh, how about we go to that place? I'm bored out of that place. We have been there a couple of times this last week. I'm really bored. We want to change, try something new. And it's always about new. Alright? But when you need to finish something, you have to stay with one thing for a long period of time. Sorry. So that takes a lot of effort. And it becomes boring, so you leave it. So you need to develop this habit of how effort, this is your challenge, to turn effort into fun. One key advice, reward. Do effort, even if it's small, and give yourself a huge reward for it. Until you start the habit of loving this thing.
So we are giving rewards to our effort, not to the task itself.
Of course, yes. Yes, for the effort. Just for the effort.
So even if I didn't succeed in doing the task, it's just...
Exactly. I put effort today. Treat yourself. Why am I treating myself? I worked for 2 hours straight. I am a hero. Different than the Superman. Okay? I deserve a treat. Okay? All of a sudden you start feeling, I really feel good about this. When I put effort, something good happens. Alright? And this is what Imam Zarruq has said when he talked about the soul, or the nafs. He said, وَالْحِيلَةُ عَلَيْهَا أَوْلَى مِنَ الرُّجُوعِ إِلَيْهَا. Tricking the self is better than depending on the self. If you say, I can focus, go ahead, try. But if you say to yourself, look, it's only 25 minutes Pomodoro thing, 5 minutes break, do a couple of these, and then we're off, and you do some kind of game and a treat. It gets into the process and it doesn't feel the trick. Until you wire the habit. Once it's there, you got used to it. And you'll start developing this not into a challenge anymore. The habit becomes a comfort zone. So when you start trying to procrastinate, you'll start thinking of not being able to finish, not getting the reward, not having the dopamine, not being happy anymore, feeling that you're, becoming a loser. Oh no, I have to finish. Just like how you might now feel if you keep doing your homework and not going out with your friends. I'll be alone. Nobody will like me. I will not be cool anymore. I will miss out. They will go to that new place and they will find things that I don't know of. And they will kick me out of the group. You see what I mean? Once you develop the habit, it becomes your comfort zone. You get my point? Okay. Any more questions? Okay. Subhanallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Next Saturday, inshallah, 6:30, huh? Not 7, 6:30, guys. Girls. Okay, see you next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.